Hey everyone, I'm joined today by Jessica Markowski from Budweiser. Hi Jessica.
Hi Alex, how are you?
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. So tell us a bit more about your role at Bud.
Okay, thank you. So thank you everyone, and thank you for having me today. As Alex said, my name is Jessica Markowski. I'm the Sales Director for Convenience and Wholesale at the Budweiser Brewing Group. I technically basically oversee the customer relationship with all small stores and wholesalers outside of the top grocery multiples. So yeah, any small stores, including independent and wholesalers, so the route to markets.
Brilliant. And how was Bud affected by the crisis?
So I guess specifically outside of the given for the changes to people's working styles, etc. We've kind of been hit with, I guess, both ends of the spectrum. So from one side, we are obviously an alcohol company, so we have been severely affected by the closure of all on-trade, so the pubs and hotels. And on the other side, we have also seen a spike within and a spike in demand for, I guess, grocery sales and retail sales and wholesale sales. So almost double end of the spectrum. And then in terms of our breweries, so obviously we have breweries that produce our beer within the UK, and we've been, I guess, affected with their ways of working. So we've obviously had to implement some strict safety measures, whether that's PPE or the way we clean our warehouses and our breweries, etc. So yeah, quite a big step.
How did you guys respond and adapt to what happened?
So I think if I can go through a couple of things. So obviously the first thing and the most important thing was the safety of our people. So that was the number one thing. So as soon as the lockdown measures happened, we obviously stopped our movement and travel, whether that's within countries or within the office. And then obviously the below the hit from in terms of the closure of the on-trade. So I guess I'll start with that because I guess that's probably the biggest adaptation of change that we've had to make. So to support our pubs at this time, because obviously they are very strong partners of us, we launched a couple of initiatives. First of all, one of them, it was called Save Pub Life, which is really to help those pubs out there at the moment. And it was a voucher type scheme, a gift card, where consumers can go into their own pubs and buy their gift cards, and then Budweiser Brewing Group would match the cost of that gift card. So it's basically how could we funnel investment direct to the pubs. We managed to do, well, nearly £1 million in the last 2 months. So it's an amazing achievement for those that have signed up. So that was great. I think secondly, in terms of how the on-trade is running their business, we also introduced a new platform, an electronic platform called Return Your Beer, and this was a way for our breweries and the beer industry and to be able to send their kegs back and also claim back their excise. So this has actually been taken on by the pub and brewing industry as well. So a lot of other brewers have now joined us as well on that as well. So I think some real big moves there. I think from a community perspective, we came together and we actually produced and distributed hand sanitizers to local communities around our breweries in Wales, in South Wales, and we've donated already 10,000 litres of hand sanitizers. So again, really supporting our community on that. And then from the brewery, I kind of already said we implemented some very strict safety measures, but I guess the most obvious is we stopped brewing kegs and we moved obviously directly to bottles and cans to support the off-trade demand. So the big moves, I guess, when it comes to my team, we've quickly had to adapt to working at home and working on Zoom, as I'm sure most people have also done. In terms of how we supported our team members, we set up a lot of, I guess, social groups within our business, so to support perhaps working parents, but also to give, I guess, our teams areas and tips and tricks to support us in the home working. And I guess, we try to put some, I guess, stricter routines in so that we can actually stop. So one of those is I put lunch breaks in for all my team. So we actually do have a lunch break and a coffee break in the morning and the afternoon, which is obviously not normally what happens, but I think it was quite important to make sure that we put boundaries for our teams. Otherwise, the work-life balance could be severely affected.
Brilliant. Really brilliant. And so what were some of the biggest challenges during these initiatives?
So I think the biggest challenge that I personally and my team have had is the huge demand that we've had for the off trade. So it's been the biggest peak. So we've sold more beer than we did in during the World Cup, or even the hottest summer times. And it's been very difficult, I guess, the intense pressure that we've had from our customers to be able to retain that demand. So I think that's been the biggest challenge. And I guess from our team perspective, it's about trying to ensure that we continue to be positive, because ultimately we are delivering every single case we can possibly make for our customers. But obviously our customers would always like more. So it's about maintaining that positive attitude when you're faced with lots of, I guess, questions on demand and supply. So that's been, I guess, the biggest challenge that my team directly have had. I guess how we've faced that is we put in really, really good processes now in terms of forecasting with our customers. So we have a lot of meetings on Zoom, and I guess a lot of my customers perhaps would never have thought about using Zoom for meetings. We've put in a lot more strict controls around our forecasting, and we've kind of increased our teams to get a bit more support around the forecasting side as well.
Brilliant. And how have you been coping on a personal level?
So I think, let's be honest, this is not easy. And I think people that say that this is all fine and everyone's adapted are probably telling a few white lies there. I think personally, for me, I've got a family. It was quite a big adjustment. Homeschooling, online schools. I actually, were organising more stuff for my children than perhaps I was in my work day. So that's been quite difficult to manage. But I think, over time we've got into a bit of a routine. And I think I guess the biggest adjustment for me was, how do I manage both and actually not put too much pressure on myself and our family, but also getting the benefits of it. So it's been absolutely fantastic being able to have my breakfast and dinner with my children all the time. And I try to step away at lunch as well, so I'm actually seeing them more than I used to, which is fantastic. And I think personally, I've tried to walk. I'm not normally an exercising person, but I have gone out for a walk every day, and it makes a very big difference. I think just almost to clear your head, because you don't have that transition of work to home life anymore, because it's always here. So yeah, doing that. And I think in terms of scheduling time with the team, it's really about a lot of one-to-one time, because you end up being on Zoom quite a lot with lots of meetings, but actually I've been putting in one-to-ones with people that I don't actually see always, because I miss the chats that you had in the office, and the interesting projects that other people are working on. So I've been making sure that I put one-to-one time in with other people.
So I think a lot of people in our industry see you as quite a resilient person. So do you have any tips to share on resilience at this time?
I think resilience is an interesting word and scale. I think everybody that has kind of managed through this is very resilient, because let's be honest, we've all had to evolve in a very, very, very quick space of time. So I think number one thing is, it's fine. It doesn't always work out, but you can make a mistake and then move on. So let's take the mistake, let's move on with it. I think the other thing that I would say is, don't be too hard on yourself. We're not expected to be fantastic at everything. This is all new for everyone. And I would also say that sleep is very important. I think the amount of screen time that everyone is now having, it's really important to be able to shut off and get a good night's sleep. So any tips that you need to help you get a good night's sleep, then I definitely recommend them for that, whether it's exercise, yoga, or even a beer outside in the garden with your family. I think the one tip that I would say is, try and make sure that you have your meals away from your desk. I know it's very easy to just go from one meeting to the next, but I do think it's very, very important just almost to have a break. So they would be my top tips. I think the one thing that I would say about all of this is, it's incredible how people have evolved so quickly, and I think we need to give ourselves a bit of credit for that, because no one would have ever expected, I guess, businesses to adapt and move so quickly. So it's just been an amazing time to be part of. And I think within our business specifically, some of the big initiatives that we've done at Budweiser Brewing Group have just made me realise what an amazing place it is to be. And I think just waking up every morning to see my team is the biggest conversation I have. I absolutely applaud their resilience, and it just makes me want to work harder for them.
Brilliant, brilliant answer. Thank you, Jessica. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to say, I think all the tips and resources that you have online are just amazing right now, because whether it's LinkedIn Learning, whether it's things like these blogs and vlogs, now's a really good time to, even if you have a 7-minute period of time in your day, to kind of learn those things, because it's a great opportunity to be a bit curious. I think, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I read loads of material about how everyone was learning languages, etc. Quite frankly, I don't have the time for that, because I'm trying to do 2 things in one day. But 7 minutes here and there is fantastic. So if you can get a snippet of any kind of training, or even audio books, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Jessica Markowski from Budweiser.
Thank you very much, Lilith. Thanks very much for having me.